But then, passively we creep to hate our own way. All that you would be, unnaturally, hypocritically, but exactly sleep in this manufacturing. They live, we sleep, we sleep. They live, we sleep, we sleep. You're hypnotized, lift your eyes, shift your surprise to a disguise. What's the deal? I just feel we must build justice, feel ruin in our sleep by the human car elite. They live. Awesome broadcast coming up. Peace and welcome everyone to Karmic Dynasty. I am Joy Allen. We have an awesome broadcast coming up. It's dealing with a previous broadcast regarding a favorite cult classic called They Live. John Carpenter's They Live. Returning to the platform again, founder of the BlackTax Agency, Zee Malachi, who put out the call for the great private and silent assembly towards self-reliance. He will be joining me to talk about where the idea for the movie came from and how it relates to global society today. Zee, let them know what you sound like.
Paradise. I greet you with paradise, and I'm glad to be back. We're going to have a lot to unpack this upcoming broadcast, so I think we have enough to lay out the significant information right now.
Go ahead, give them something to think about.
Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper didn't have a name in the movie. What was his name? No one ever called him by his name in the movie. His character was based on an alien encounter comic book character named George Novel. The idea came from a guy they called Ray Nelson. He wrote a short story called 8 o'clock in the morning. It's about a guy who wakes all the way up during the demonstration where the hypnotist asks his subjects to wake up. He notices that there's an active effort taking place to keep humanity asleep, and he tries to reduce his exposure to it in order to remain awake. Long story short, they find out he's awake, call him on the phone, and hypnotically suggest to him that he's an old man and that his heart will stop 8 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock in the morning, George died. But before he died, he found a way to wake everyone up. How he did that is the jewel of all jewels. You're not going to want to miss the upcoming broadcast.
7 luscious hues. Just...
Our impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep.
They target your mind on their arrival, harvest your time for their survival and the money. They got you using the money without you figuring out and hearing it out. They got you hooked on the fear and doubt, plus a bottle of beer and some clout. Shed some tears that'll help you out. If you want to know, it's all about escaping the crazy creed, living among us, keeping us all asleep.
Goddamn hacker, that second time tonight that asshole was cut in.
The movement was begun 8 months ago by a small group of scientists who
I wish they could hear that part.
Non-existent. They have created a repressive society, and we are their unwitting accomplices.
Brother Z, welcome again to Karmic Dynasty. Peace, everyone. Peace, y'all. Peace. Paradise.
Paradise.
Talk to us, Brother Z.
Once again, here we are once again. They live, we sleep. I'm going to go ahead and drop some jewels right off the bat so that you guys know that you got it right in the beginning. Didn't waste no time. If anybody comes in the chat, ask the questions, well, what happened? How did he break what did he do to wake everybody up? He broke the frequency. He disrupted the frequency, all right? And then he broadcast a message of his own. There it is, right up front. You ain't even have to ask. But what we do have to determine for ourselves as we analyze this film and how it relates to us today is what do we actually have to do to parallel this act? How are we going to break this frequency? Reducing exposure to the hypnosis, to just being, to all the messages that are saying, do this, do that, stay asleep, work, right? Reducing exposure to that is not the easiest thing to do, especially when you're not aware of it, okay? So when we think about what this guy from the comic book now, we're talking about a story that boosts this whole They Live, We Sleep film from John Carpenter, okay? The story prior to that, you're dealing with the guy, Nada, who had experienced enough to think about what he's going to do before he dies. So he has some sense of the power of the suggestion that was presented to him when he answered that phone call and said his heart was going to stop at 8 o'clock in the morning. So he wanted to do the most before that time came, right? Ultimately, he found a way to disrupt the frequency and get in there and broadcast a message of his own. What is that going to look like for us as a people who are always saying each one teach one, right? Because the kind of ears that we're talking to and the mentalities that we're trying to convey a message to, right, has a barrier due to these frequencies. Are we ready to go? Are we ready to go?
We're ready to go.
They live. Now I'm wondering, I'm just kind of curious, if we have maybe one or two questions we can entertain before we get into some of the more significant parts of this film. I'm gonna speak about some of them. I wrote some of the most significant parts down so that if there are those who want to go hunt for it on YouTube, they can, and then we're gonna talk about that. But what kind of questions, one, maybe two, maybe that we have that we can entertain for now.
All right. So first, let me see, 2 days ago we were here. We did the pre-show to this series, and when the live stops, the broadcast ends, sometimes the questions, because there's like a 10-second lag, sometimes the comments are still coming in after I've already ended. So one comment came in from Cold Stone 36 was the truth struck a nerve. And we talked about that after the broadcast. Can we address that? Because that came in from the last broadcast. And then go into the ones for this one. Gratitude.
Yes, indeed. Already off the bat, that says a lot about Stone Cold 36, all right? So you got to be a little sensitive, right, for the truth to even strike a nerve. You know what I mean? That you are not the average type, right? With the kind of frequencies that are keeping people asleep right now, truth ain't striking a nerve for a lot of folk. So be thankful, right? Those things that make you think, you want to wake up and say, wait a minute, right? Already with the Matrix, the message was banging on our door, right? What would you say? is banging
It
on our
is.
door.
It
Vanilla
is.
Sky, the message, banging on our door. You know, what other movie? All these movies that are suggesting that what we think is reality may not be what we think it is. So by the time these messages find a place to rest on your mind, you know how they say that, you know, that the camel straw, that last piece, you know, it caved everything in. It's when you start paying attention. That last piece of information, that new film or that new breakdown to the film or the new statement that someone's giving to help break down something that you probably never thought about before. It just did it to you. And that's why we say the truth strikes a nerve. Okay? They live, we sleep, and we already knew back in the 80s that they were using subliminal messages for advertising. We already knew this, all right? But what happens, right, when we start getting into the algorithms of our makeup? We're talking about our electromagnetic characteristics, the things that make us electrical and receive signals and messages and impressions in our brain that cause us to have certain thoughts, that cause us to have even aspirations, right? And the things that we think we desire is because we were programmed to desire them. Just a thought, you know? Think about the things that you were always saying when people ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So we were kind of, you know, there were pushed answers for that. You know, and a lot of the kids gave the same answers. If it wasn't no doctor, if it wasn't no lawyer, you know, if it wasn't to be a fireman, there's a whole bunch of occupations.
Dentist, a teacher.
Yeah.
An actress, a singer, a rapper, a basketball player, a football, NFL star. All that.
Yeah. What about the trash man? Don't nobody want to be the trash man? You know, we got sewer cleaners out there. You know, people making sure that, you know, our pipes are free of debris and can function, you know, so that, you know, our neighborhoods won't go into something that's even more toxic, you know. I mean, you know, so there it is. You're going to say pilot, you're going to say teacher. We got a lot of stuff that is pushed, but then we come to a different aspect in our lives where we're just not paying attention to certain things. All right. We're not paying attention to certain things until somebody says something. There are others here that think in terms so far ahead of you that they begin to use their edge to make sure you're never the wiser. Now, just imagine for a moment this type of beings living amongst you, and they also have to have access to the same resources that you have, right? What would you say would be the number one thing in the world that would keep you so busy that you'll never have time to recognize what's taking place?
TV.
Now, say it again.
TV. The music industry. Keeping up with the Kardashians. The red carpet fake awards. Oh, the stadiums they fill with people.
Yeah.
Spending their money, $20 on a beer.
You all over entertainment right now.
And jobs. The jobs.
Ding, 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 ding.
You know what I mean?
That's the number one thing right there to keep you busy. The all-time secret to the secret sauce is to make sure you stay busy, right?
Mm-hmm.
What in the world could make us go get a job?
Well, you know, they told us we need a job so we can have a car. Now, you got a car, you need car insurance, you need gas, you need plates, you need registration, you need repairs.
Yeah.
Instead of just, a lot of us need to be walking
A lot of us had jobs. We ain't need no cars.
Well, I didn't need no car.
Yeah, we ain't even have
They
cars.
told us we need health care,
So
which removes us taking care of ourselves.
Imagine.
Oh, we need a job for daycare for our kids and they school uniforms because we didn't want to homeschool anymore. We needed jobs, Brother Zee. We needed jobs. What you mean?
What if we never needed a job?
Brother Zee, I need my job. You know, I need my Nikes. I need my Michael Kors bag. Are you playing? And I need to fill up my SUV. The gas is high, but hey, I got to keep my tank on full.
That's a high level. You got to get to that level first.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
All that is high level.
That's high level. What if you poor?
Poor?
Yeah. What if you poor?
You know, people get a job, they won't be poor. They need or maybe get a second job. Can't be poor. You got 2 jobs, Brother Zee.
2 jobs?
2 jobs.
Them people doing it. They on their way. Them people doing it.
Yes.
But
that's success, Brother
Are
Zee.
they really doing it?
Yes.
Are they conforming to a plan to keep them busy?
Oh.
You see? We got programs out there, in case some of you folks out there forget. There are programs out there to assist the impoverished. But what do you need an EBT card for? You ain't even got no job, but you got an EBT card. What you need an EBT card for?
Brother Zee, I need an EBT card because I gotta feed my kids. You know, when I go to the store, I'm always looking for that one specific box of Little Debbie cakes because my kids need them.
Wow.
How else I'm gonna get them without the EBT card?
Wow.
Brother Zee, why you all in my business today?
How did even happen
to Little Debbie snack cakes?
How did it even happen? How you get put in the position where you need that EBT card?
Well, because first what had happened was they came out with them hot Cheetos, and they are good with my Pepsi.
I don't mean to be laughing like picking on people, but at some point we got to be able to look back and say, okay, they got us real good. Okay, right? It is not a laughing matter when you become addicted to a lot of the stuff that we do not need. It's not a laughing matter when we find that our desires and our aspirations seem to be in overdrive. We got hypersensation behind a lot of the things that we believe we need, and it's just a want, right? But prior to that, if we go straight to the point, right? Imagine yourself as a family that's living on the islands. I'm talking about food everywhere, to your left, to your right, food is everywhere, right? You don't necessarily have need for electricity. Let's just put that out there, right?
Huh? What?
Let's just say you live under the sun and you live under the moon. You
no
sleep
electricity.
Yeah, let's just kind of compact.
I don't charge my phone.
Let's bring it down to some primitive aspects, so we can see what happened. What happened?
I ain't living in no caves. What you mean primitive? I need my Wi-Fi.
You don't even know what Wi-Fi is right now. We primitive folk right now. We're like, okay, we got a simple life, right? But if I come amongst you, and then I make it difficult for you to access the food that's right amongst you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I can get you to cater to my desires. How does that sound?
Mm-hmm. I don't like.
I mean, if I want to build a world that has Wi-Fi right off the bat, what am I even thinking about? Well, I'm over here thinking about this advanced world that I want to have, but I'm gonna get other people to build it. I'm not gonna talk to you and say, "Hey, check this out. I done thought about this. Here's the blueprint for it. What do you think about helping me build this?" If you have everything you already need, that's why I'm putting us in this primitive state in this box, right? Before we discover that we have these addictions for a whole bunch of stuff we don't need, right? What happens if you say, "I don't want to help you"? I'm fine over here. I got paradise right now. Living under the sun, I eat when I want to, food is free, right? Living is free. I don't want to help you. What is it that an advanced race may be thinking of that they become so impatient with acquiring this advanced world that they perceive to the point where they figure out what it's going to take to get you off your behind and contribute to the world that they want to see. Now we're talking about Wi-Fi, right? Now we're talking about advanced infrastructure, right? You got to build this, right? And one of the number one reasons you're going to build it is because it's a little hard to access the things that was once easy for you to access, all right? I know a lot of times we like to talk about how the Europeans probably got into Africa, right, and just robbed and raped it. That's a common expression, right? Try this. Try this.
Okay.
They didn't rob Africa and rape Africa, right? They went into Africa, got access to the resources of Africa like anyone could have done, right? And then excluded Africans from having access to the products that they developed and to the ability to use the products to also advance. How does that sound? We're talking economic exclusion at this point.
The trap.
Right? So I'm going to come and get resources that are under your feet so that I could build the world or get you to assist me in building the world, yet I'm going to exclude you from it all. And by the time you think you're going to associate with the International Monetary Fund, right, we're going to make sure that we have things set up to make your dollar so weak, because this is what all countries do. They have to go to the International Monetary Fund if they want to print their own money. I don't know if people know this or not. You got to go to the International Monetary Fund and say, we want to print our own money. Well, they say, okay, give us information about you and your people, right? All your team of folk that's going to be putting in some work that's going to introduce some type of value to our system, this International Monetary Fund. So once you do that, right, they tell you how much your money is worth based on whatever it is you're going to print, all the designs you're going to put on your dollar, right? They grant this to you and then turn around and exercise a power to inflate their money. Excluding people from economics has been a diehard trait for a long time. Yeah, we're gonna give you some loans. You print your own money now. We're gonna show you how to get into this world of making profit. Well, if you get seduced into that, right, and you can't pay this money back, which is kind of goofy that you ever really got into trying to take on loans, right? Because you got trapped into wanting to have this and wanting to have that for your people when your people originally was just fine. All right. So now you took on all that and said, well, you can't pay it back. We're gonna go ahead and have to inflate your dollar, make your money worthless now. That's like removing your money. That is economic exclusion. Okay. So just picture for a moment, right? You have a people who are already on and involved with this whole monetary system, right? And no one knows why they have to work a job. This is an instance of they live and we sleep. We work jobs because they tell us we need to have money to access all the things, all the resources that they have cornered. Basic necessities, number one. Okay, we start with basic necessities. You're gonna make sure you're gonna pay for this water, you're gonna pay for this electricity, you're gonna pay for this roof over your head, right? And we all, the banks and all other kind of lending networks, they're all in cahoots, right? So it don't matter where you go to on this planet, right? Whatever city you get into, you're going to have to get your hands on the dollar to get access to these things that are available in every community around the world, starting with basic necessities, food, water, clothing, shelter, right? You need money for that. So if you need money for that, what is the only thing left for you to do is go find a job in that. And as simple as it sounds, most people never think of this. You never think of this. All right, so that's closing the chapter on how busy they keep us, how they're able to keep a people so busy they don't even know what's taking place under under their noses, right in front of them, with the eyes wide open. All you know is you got to go to work. You ain't getting paid enough. By the time you pay all your bills, get some of the stuff that you need, you don't have no money left. You broke. And they keep pumping you through these commercials and movies and television shows. They keep pumping you with tons and tons of aspirations and desires for things that you don't need, right? They got you wanting to be this person and that person, in a relationship and out of relationship, all kinds of things that just may be counterproductive to our community. All right, so I hope I'm not piling it on too thick, but the bottom line is we are made to be so busy that we can't see what's really taking place. We can't see a life that we probably would prefer to live if we weren't being molested. If we weren't being economically molested, who knows what our natural preferences would be? So that's the thing that I would request that you think about. Think about that as we break down They Live, We Sleep. We look at some of the images and some of the clips that you have, and we'll talk about that. But first, I hope that Cold Stone 36 kind of received that whole thing in regards to, the truth strikes a nerve, right? So we get down into some truth. If you are awake enough to know that something's wrong, right? That right there should agitate you just a little bit. What? They got us like that? Yeah. Imagine how many people came before us talking about we need to come together. We need to unite. That's a popular statement in the Black community, right? We got to come together, right? So the expression is there. It's common. We're very familiar with it. But it's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
If we came together, if we were talking unity, what would we be uniting to do? You see? Notice how most people don't have a plan for that. And the first thing that people run to in conversations like this is, we got to buy some land. Let's unite and buy some land. How come the most obvious thing isn't we got to break the spell first? We have to break this hypnotic spell that they have over us, because perhaps they want us to buy this land, right? So that we can do with it what they want us to do with it. Don't you know that we have Black farmer organizations and networks that is pretty huge? We got a pretty huge network of Black farmers, but you know what they do? They sell their crops to the markets.
Yep.
We always talk about one of the number one rules or principles in the event of being free or a self-sufficient people is to have the ability to feed ourselves. When we say that, are we talking about paying for food? If we're talking about paying for food, even if we're talking about buy Black, support Black businesses, then we're stuck in the loop that they would have established for us in the first place.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
The only way to break the cycle is to make sure you can feed yourself. Point blank, period. In the story, night.
Night.
That's
Don't
it.
let them bed bugs bite.
I have to say it that way because you don't want to be concerned with nothing else. Get some rest. Think on that. Point blank, period. In the story, night. Think on it. Sleep on it. You want to be able to feed yourself. You don't want to sit there and start charging yourself for food, right? Because you're not in a position where you have a relationship with the resources of the earth, especially the kind of basic necessities your enemy is. And you don't even know that it's your enemy. they're the ones that want the money from you. So if you can recognize yourself as a beneficent people, meaning people who would want to love one another, because we're always talking about one love each other. You know what I'm saying? We got to get back to loving ourselves, right? Well, part of loving ourselves meaning doing whatever we can to maintain stability. And making sure we can feed ourselves is a large contribution towards stability. You see what I'm saying? You find if you ain't got nothing to eat and can't get your hands on no food, your stability is gonna be challenged real quick, you know. And the things people do when they go hungry, let me just tell you, you know, hitting folk over the head, robbery. First they asking you, first they begging you, right? After that, they're just gonna steal, right? You know, and your enemy is waiting on that so they can fill their prisons and do all other kinds of stuff just to add more degradation to the black community and the whole nine, right? So we know that we want stability. We need stability for ourselves. And so one of the first things to do to tackle that is to make sure we can feed ourselves, right? But look at how blind we can be if we think that having land means that we can also assert ourselves to such a degree that profit is involved. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we at least ought to be talking about, yeah, we got it. If we got people amongst us say, we got to make profit, what else are we going to do with the land? When you hear this message, what was our response is supposed to be, okay, I get that. That makes sense. I've been thinking wrong for a long time. So now that I have this information, I know that I need to start networking with other black farmers to reserve some room for us to feed ourselves free. So you need to establish that whole front where you got your food come up to distribution to particular communities, and you need to know that you could do it. And you need to know that you could, you have a number that you can benefit. So you need to have, whether all the communities that you have in mind amount to about 5,000 people or 20,000 people. You need to know that you can consistently feed them based on the little bit that you're breaking off from the whole network of black farmers, and know that you can actually feed 20,000 people without money being involved, right? And as the generations go along, you're improving that, right? That's just a part of the real self-identity you want to have in terms of who you are as a people who can feed themselves. Right now, I don't think we're able to identify with ourselves and that kind of, you know, on those terms. So why not make room to start identifying with ourselves with every principle or every attribute that has to do with self-sufficiency? Go down the list. We got to be able to feed ourselves. We got to be able to clothe ourselves. We got to be able to educate ourselves. And we just start knocking them off the list. That's something to specifically be united about. So when we talk about uniting, right, we need to have something specific regarding what it is we're going to do, what we're coming together to do. You can't just sit there and say, we're going to buy some land, right? You got to go further than that because we're under hypnosis. They got us buying land so that we can sell our food to the markets. You see what I'm saying? And we're done. We're stuck in the cycle, right? Everybody, they're profiting, right? And they don't know what to do to inch the black community or humanity into a world where their only compensation for anything they do is quality, services, and products. That's your compensation right there. But it's hard to receive that message because of the hypnosis that we're under right now. We think compensation has to be money. Did I say too much?
They still listening.
They live, we sleep.
We listening. Now, speaking of money, Kai Creatress has asked if you heard about gold in Uganda. That's something we're going to talk about today, right now.
You know what? You know, since our patrons are concerned with that, we're going to address it, right?
Okay.
So they found this huge gold, we're calling a depot in Ghana right now. But what does that mean, though? Like, what does it mean? It's amazing that we don't realize that a people found a use for gold that didn't have anything to do with how a people flourished as self-sufficient folk. Think about that for a moment. Because you got people who will step up, they'll pull up right beside you and say, gold is real money. The dollar needs to be backed by gold, right? Gold is not one of those things you can eat, right? It's not one of those things you're going to develop a concern with until you get into the engineering department that says the best material to use for what we're building today is gold. So we're not going to be concerned with that until our engineers and our scientists step up and say, we need this element because we're building this, and we find that this element best relates and is best suitable for this environment or this atmosphere. Whether you want to send the shuttle up into space and you want to line our stuff with some gold, you know, we don't have no other concern for gold, whatever. Like there are stories that have been presented that when people came looking for a whole bunch of gold amongst islanders, and they asked if they get it, the islanders like, you take as much of it as you want to, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're dealing with the people who actually they have a monetary world rising amongst them because their interest is in enslaving others. Their interest is involved with forcing people to work. So we just covered that, right? You can force people to work, right, if their access to basic necessities is challenged. You want this, you got to work here. And amongst us, this is what we want built. Amongst us, this is what we want processed and handled, right? So to create environments like that where you think you've made a choice to go get a job, right? But you really didn't make a choice. Psychologically, you was forced, right? And this is something that people don't think about because they usually don't have enough time to think about what their very own preferences would be. They can't even imagine a paradise amongst themselves, right? If you try to talk about it, the first thing they run into is how are you going to be able to trust people to do their parts, you see? So these are the kinds of things that they have managed to successfully press in our minds. These are the thoughts that keep us from succeeding as a people who desire self-sufficiency. And you know, one of the things they say is that the first sign of a failure is doubt. So every time we come amongst ourselves and we start thinking about what we can do and what we ought to do to find ourselves in a powerful position to be self-sufficient folk, we always have those people that say, man, you know, we ain't got armies and tanks. We're gonna face some pushback. All that's true. But if your attitude towards that is all about doubt, instead of we're gonna get it done, we're gonna receive pushback, we're gonna receive some challenges, right? If that's your attitude, that's a healthier attitude, right? Than the one that says, oh, well, you know, we're gonna receive pushback. I don't think we ain't got tanks and warriors and soldiers. Like, you know, the attitude is slightly different to one who knows it and is not paralyzed by it. And then there are those who know it, but they're paralyzed by it, right? So we got to make sure that that kind of doubt doesn't enter our environment when we start talking about, you know, our effort to become self-sufficient folk. So the goal, right? Who's thinking about this goal? We know that they have infrastructure in the markets when it comes to the monetary system that they can benefit from, and they also have infrastructures on the engineering side and the scientific side when it comes to gold. Where is our concern really in terms of this? Ghana and a lot of other places in Africa are already well submitted under this global cycle of forced labor. They're already well submitted under it. So how you address coming into a new form of money, whether it's cryptocurrency or a new depot of gold, like how you address it or how you confront it with whatever plans you think you're coming up with just may not be your plans. Like you're still swimming and smothered in the construct that you on your most natural day would never prefer. You'd never prefer the use of gold the way they have constructed most people to desire the use for gold. So now you think you're going to get into this huge financial bracket. I don't know, maybe you think you're going to be another Dubai, what? Another Venezuela, what? Like, we see what happened to these people who end up valuing things that have a monetary umbrella to it. You can be destroyed economically. Easy. Easy. It can be removed from you, right? So there's nothing to be excited about, right? Like, the most we could be excited about is being able to use it as a conversational piece to talk about, are we ready to unite or what? Are we ready to come together or what? To do a few things specifically in the line of becoming self-sufficient. How are we going to start relying on ourselves in such a way that we have some wiggle room away from the use of money, away from having to use money? So we need to start creating a lane where in one of these generations, we begin operating without the use of money, and let it grow from there. Another generation will well into a cycle of a variety of things that we have use for, with a relationship with the resources from the ground up to such a degree we don't even have to use the money. So we want to create lanes like that. I hope that addresses the whole goal in Ghana thing. I did it my way.
Okay. Very well, very well. Yeah, she didn't have any other comments. I think Kai Creatures is cool with your response. I know today also you wanted to look at some specific scenes from the movie They Live.
Yeah.
And give the audience time to ask questions, so we can get all the questions in this time before the broadcast ends. That'd be great too. Okay.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned the scene near the beginning where there's a lady in her apartment watching TV, and Nada's in the alley. He was taking a nap.
Right. Let me see if I can find where I might have written about this.
Okay.
And this is right in the beginning too.
Yeah. I think most of the scenes you talked about were in the beginning, like the preacher. Was he blind? Was
right. He was a blind preacher.
Yeah.
And one of the clips actually showed him delivering a message. He was speaking, knowing full well that he was able to interrupt the frequencies, the local frequencies, and he could actually project his message through the waves. You can see it on TV. So that's what we was looking at earlier. When the TV was fuzzing, you could hear him speaking to the people, and some of the people viewing it was catching headaches.
Yeah. Because the subliminal messages, it's real. They are real.
Right.
Those subliminal messages live. They live.
That's the whole point. Subliminal message. Right. And we won't be able to wake up to it until a certain event.
Mm-hmm.
This
and you know what?
event,
when people talk about the pushback on having our own, like the pushback you mentioned, the pushback is like in the movie when Nada was in the supermarket and the one alien lady realized he knew them. How they came at him was a form of pushback that a lot of people are talking about when it comes to us being having our own, and they want to talk about the military will come after us and all those other tactics to keep us from doing our own.
Right.
So that message was clearly in the movie as well.
Yeah. So I get I become fascinated with the way he did that. I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to try and say it the way it sparked a sensation in me, because I can't never forget it. It's like it's stained in my brain. And when they realized they could see, the lady said she got on the signal. They got a communicator, which they all can communicate with each other or with their own staff of authorities. And she said, "We got one that can see." You see? So like, and everybody there was like, "Oh snap!" You see that? You know, his cover is blown now. If he ever had one, and they recognized you could see. And so I think this is the best way that John Carpenter wanted to present what happened to Nada from the comic book character, that he got this whole story from. To say that while he was out and about, someone noticed that he was awake. How do you act when you're awake? Are you looking at things like you see, like you can read it, and you look at certain people, and you know, that person look a little something, right? So we got a clip.
Okay, Brother Z went out. Okay, so he'll be back in. I'm sure. So he was about to mention the clip. Hold on here. Let me make this adjustment. Okay, so Brother Z will be here again. Pretty sure. He's not at home. He's on the road, so he's experiencing some connection concerns right here from the comments. I got a question. Okay. Yes, matriarch. Yes. So when he comes back, he had mentioned. I'm going to have him answer this question. He had mentioned the aliens needing the same resources as us, and how the global warming that we are being told of is actually the aliens creating their own environment here, much like their environment from where they are from. So I will ask him about that when he gets back. And that's it. I know I also started out the broadcast with the song he has, and actually right quick, some housekeeping. Shay Pink 40. There was a item that you were supposed to receive. I didn't receive a mailing address for you to get that item to you. If you would share your mailing address with me, and I'll get that to you. Brother Z, he's here. He's back. All right. So you were mentioning some clips before you left out.
Right. I apologize for that. I'm in a hotel. I'm right at the beachfront, and we extended our stay, and I think they received it late and cut the connection. So I was on it within a few seconds. Got it reconnected and everything.
Okay, so we have the one question you had mentioned earlier, how the aliens need the same resources as us. Okay, and then one resource they would need is the environment here to be much like their home environment. So can you discuss the idea of global warming being created by the aliens, so the environment here fits theirs where they're from?
Well, see, that's one aspect, and that's also a theory or a viewpoint that people were talking about way back in the 80s, probably mid 70s. All right, that it was actually being caused so that certain things could be conducive to them. However, there are other elements involved with that. All right. So for those not aware, we have subterranean worlds, subterranean cities, as well as cities and abodes in the Himalayas. Okay. So when we start talking about things heating up, we're talking about either another whole global plan for reducing population in order to make something more conducive, and acceptable to people who wouldn't be harmed by that. And there are reports and stories way back then now that even talked about causing a collision in our galaxy that will result in producing another sun. So I don't know how many people ever heard about that, right? But all of that's attached to things that could be applied to some global warming, heating up the planet, right? So that this would be more of a home towards the people who believe this is their rightful place, right? There are stories that are pre-biblical. I don't know if that's too loud or not. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I don't hear anything except you talking.
All right, we got pre-biblical stories that talk about how a crash took place that just removed an entire planet, and that the planet belonged to reptilians. And so the reptilians, being that they already shared a larger planet, so they had a planet. For those who want to look into it, maybe you can type in Vulcan, the planet Vulcan, on YouTube, or looking through Sumerian stories where they have this planet Vulcan to themselves, but they travel back and forth from Vulcan to what was a larger planet at the time. We call it Earth right now, but back then, based on the pre-biblical stories and the Sumerian doctrine, that the planet was much larger, and it was called Tiamat. That them going back and forth to it, it's like their second home, their home away from home. So when their planet was destroyed, they feel like this belonged to them, and so they like things nice and human. So I hope I kind of combine that to make to help you see where all this information is kind of coming from, or what is linked to. Bottom line is they're experiencing pushback too. So there's a reason why we haven't seen super hot days. But then there's also stories about the sun cycles and how the planet's getting closer into its sun cycle. So we got a lot of stuff to contend with if we just want to talk about, things getting hotter here. I hope that makes some sense.
Yeah, speaking of hotter, and the sun and the temperature has been hot for a lot of people recently. It's been real hot. So yeah, that question was timely. Also, another question we have is, you mentioned you mentioned the people we get it together, and how can we trust somebody will do their part? Now, in the movie, and relating to the movie, the aliens bribed some humans.
Right. This is where we get our elite from.
So bribing humans, and so yeah, how do we trust everybody when we're wanting to make a move, and some people could possibly have been bribed to infiltrate?
Right. So this is what happened. You got to be put in a position to be bribed. So a lot of people don't even think of that. So a lot of times we talk about our characteristics as if it's something bad. For example, being materialistic. Mm-hmm. We need materials. We thrive off of materials. We cannot be materialistic. We cannot be materialistic people, humans, whatever you call it, right? Mm-hmm. We thrive off of material, right? The problem is when we have challenges towards our access to materials, right? Mm-hmm. That was hold back on your growth and your evolution for a specific reason. So the extraterrestrials that we like to talk about a lot, who are able and advanced enough to stream portals through here, and who would much rather to keep it a secret, as you would see, and they live. They like to establish an elite to do the work for them to keep everything in a controlled manner. Okay, so now when we talk about, I want a bigger house. I don't want to have to worry about not having enough money in my bank account, right? These people are so advanced on a technology that forces people to do work, that enslaves people. They say, we got just the thing. We got this monetary system for you, right? We've used it all around the galaxy, all around the universes, right? The boundless universes. So when we start talking about going to the heavens or getting up out of here to go certain places, guess what you might run into? You might run into another world that uses a monetary system, right? But what you have among you are people who are opposed to applying a monetary system. You got people who are all about trying to establish the infrastructure and a society of paradise, a place where you don't use no money. Your only compensation is, like I said before, just dealing with quality products and services. That's your only compensation, right? So if you're looking at people who say, well, I definitely want those things, right? Why is that appealing to them? Because the people who come through are already prepared to have them facing instabilities. They already have structures, all the resources that they would like to have. They've already made it a challenge for them to acquire those things, and just sit back on it, sit back on it for a while, right? So you see that they wear human masks on They Live, and underneath they have these weird looking faces. So you don't know who's human among you, right? And as these bank managers, right, as your landlord and the whole nine. You got a significant and a serious infiltration taking place here, and you got allies on top of that, because in They Live, you see what people are doing to get promotions and to raise the ladder. You even see people complaining in the store alongside of Roddy Piper while he's in there with the shades on, witnessing these people. You could hear a guy complaining about how you just get in here, you just got a promotion. Do you recall that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the guy's complaining about how you get this promotion. I don't understand. And the guy's saying, shut up, stop complaining. He's an extraterrestrial telling him to shut up, stop complaining, work hard, you're going to get there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we're none the wiser at, this kind of stuff. And they're pulling the strings economically, right, to make sure that when the time comes, they can successfully bribe us. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these people are considered to be the elite. They're playing a role that between them and the rest of the humans on the planet to make sure they are exposed and they're none the wiser and they're controlled economically.
So Cold Stone 36 is here. Looks like in the piece Shalom piece. And Cold Stone 36, Brother Z, he did address your statement at the end of Monday's broadcast on the truth striking the nerve. So we did address that. It came in after the broadcast ended, and you'll have to run back today's video and view that response if you're interested. Brother Z, next question. So so here
we're probably about at our hour in, right? But you know what we can do?
Yeah.
Let's do it again next week.
We can do it again next week.
Yeah.
Let's do this one question. Okay, so the dream state that at the end of this movie the people snapped out of, and they could see the aliens living amongst them. There needs to be a part 2 of They Live part 2. Tell us what the part 2 looks like, Brother Z.
Ooh,
what happened after that?
If John Carpenter would have did a part 2 to that, you talking about what the world looks like when people are awake, right?
Yes.
I mean, the satellite was destroyed, right?
Yes.
The signal that was hiding this virtual mask. This is how high tech they were. You'd be right beside somebody and look like they got skin, right? Yes. But it's all technology that's holographically imposed upon the physical features of these creatures, right? Mm-hmm. And it's only there by signal. So when the satellite got destroyed, you could be sitting right next to one and be like, huh, what?
And yeah, or in the bed with one.
Oh my God. In the bed with one.
Yes.
Right after just having your bells rocked.
Woo! Yeah. Some other things gonna get rocked too. Some heads, some domes is going down in that room for real.
So you know how they say seeing is believing.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you? I mean, I wish he would have came out with a part 2, but I guess he want to leave it as open to What is
discussion by
Yeah.
Brother Z.
by
And
me?
so Brother Z can do the part 2. I'm buying my ticket.
I'm gonna do the part 2.
That's right.
The part 2 is now we're gonna talk amongst each other for the first time, having the ability to listen to one another. Because right now people say, man, have you ever seen an alien? It's belief. It ain't factual. You ain't never seen it. You ain't experienced it. Craft ever come down in your backyard? You ever seen it? You just believe it, right? So, but if your eyes are wide open and you see not only a creature among you, right, but you see all the messages they done laid out. They done laid out that you ain't never seen before. You can't even see the cover magazines no more because now you're looking at the words that say consume, be obedient, do this, do that. And you looking at your homie, he ain't an alien, and you ask him, you see what I'm seeing? He's saying, yeah, I see what you're seeing. What happens? What kind of conversation you gonna have about after that at that point, right? But the hypnosis being broken, you have to start talking about relying on yourself now. So part 2, for those who are ready for part 2, is a discussion to be had about us relying on ourselves. Is that enough for now? Like, if I say that and leave it there, do you think the people will receive that message? Is that a task that people may want to be involved with? Such a discussion? How do we start beating the path of becoming self-sufficient folk? Which means we have to get back to placing ourselves in the positions where we have a relationship with the resources from the ground up for ourselves, to reserve some room for ourselves, to enjoy the services and products that we produce without even using money. Are we ready for that?
I don't know. We could set up a meeting and see people show up.
The BlackTaxAgency.com. BlackTaxAgency.com. If you go there, you see that menu that say get on the email list. Get on the email list. You'll be closer to having an opportunity to have that discussion. One thing I wanted to say before we get out of here, I wanted to mention something that Frank was talking to Nada about when they was on the work site. All right. This is what he said. He said, the whole deal is like some crazy game. They put you in the starting line. The name of the game is Make It Through Life. You remember this? He say, only everyone is out for themselves, looking to do you in at the same time. Okay, man. Here we are. Now you do what you can. But remember, I'm going to do my best to blow your ass away. That's what he said. I wanted to bring that part up to see if anybody can find it. And maybe we can show it next week.
Okay.
And you can see it for yourself, because it was a sight to see the way he performed that piece. They were walking and talking, and he was just like, you do your best. And that's kind of like how we're living right now. They got us competing because we thinking that we have to get out there and do something to have more in terms of money and profit.
All right, Brother Z, we have a question, and actually I'm about to answer it in part. So first of all, I Am Legend. The song has played in the pre-show. It's played in the February commercial, and it played in part at the beginning of this video today. I actually have it set up to play in its entirety as we end the broadcast today, so you can hear the song there. That's my contribution. Brother Z, I Am Legend says, how can I listen to the They Live song you made?
All right. So listen up. My partner and I made this song, and it has been brought to my attention that Joy has been hit with what they call
Copyright claims.
some copyright claims. So let me share this with you. What we did when we made this track, first of all, we had to go listen to the sounds of the track, which have a variety of sounds to it. We picked the ones that we thought were dominant, so that we could use it to create our own a scale of this track. So what you hear is not exactly like what you would hear when you go listen to the soundtrack, right? So we picked and choose the sounds that stood out, like burn. So he did all of that. All of the sounds that you hear in terms of music is actually vocal. So he did that with himself and had to go to. So he had to do all that himself. I wrote the lyrics. So on top of writing all the things that I thought would be significant for you to think about, he sung that as well. So he did the vocals and then he came back and sung it, right? So I don't know what's going on with this copyright infringement, but we made this joint from scratch, okay? So if you got a pen and paper, I'm gonna tell you what you can do to get it sent to you. If you email kaboompromotions@gmail.com, I'll send the track to you, both tracks to you. And I'm gonna see if I can find the instrumental. If you want the instrumental, just say you want the instrumental too, right? And so, yeah, this is entirely free. I do have a platform where you can pay for it. Ain't nobody buying it no way. You know what I'm saying? So all you have to do is email KABOOM promotions with an S on the end, PROMOTIONS @gmail.com. Request They Live songs. There's two. There's a part 1 and there's a part 2, and there's the all vocal instrumental. Express your desire to receive those if that's what you want. How's that?
Sounds good. And I Am Legend said thank you. So it's great. Excellent. And you ready to close out? Is that a message I picked up from you, Brother Z? And we'll see him again next week.
Yeah. Let's say some stuff next week because we went through one of the more devastating scenes. And there are others. There are others besides the one where he says, "You do what you got to do, but just remember, I'm gonna blow your ass away." It's more.
Yeah.
So we could do that next. We could do that next week.
Okay. All right. And would you like to close us out?
Yes. Guys, remember, they live, we sleep. And in terms of knowing exactly what we would do if we were awake, it's something that we will only know by measuring the discussion that we can possibly have. I hope that makes sense to you. Zee Malachi, I'm out. As I say, paradise.
Paradise.
They live, we sleep, 8 hours a day. Passively we creep to hate our own way. All that you would be, unnaturally, hypocritically, but exactly sleep in this manufactory. They live, they live, they live. We sleep, we sleep. They live, they live, they live. We sleep, we sleep. You're hypnotized, lift your eyes, shift your surprise to a disguise. Rush the deal, I just feel we must build justice feel, ruin in our sleep. By the human elite. They live, they live. they live. We sleep, we sleep. They live, they live, they live.